My daughter banned me from Christmas 3 weeks ago, and tonight she stood on my doorstep as if none of it had ever happened. I opened the door only halfway, enough to see Kendra Hayes, 49 years old, flawless as always, and her husband Trent, 52, both of them gripping rolling suitcases. Their faces held the kind of confidence people have when they believe the world will bend for them. "Mom," Kendra said brightly, brushing a blonde strand behind her ear, "we're going to stay here for a while. Our place is complicated right now." Trent nodded, already shifting his weight forward like he expected to be let inside. "Just temporary. You have the space." It took me a moment to breathe. "You're here to stay." My voice thinned out on the last word. Kendra laughed lightly. "Mom, are you still upset about that little misunderstanding I told you? The Christmas thing was just about keeping the holiday stress-free. You know how Trent's family can be. A misunderstanding. That was what she called her, telling me I was not welcome at her home for Christmas because I made people uncomfortable. I am 72 years old, and in all those years, I have never once closed a door on my child. My instinct was to step back, open wide, make room the way I always had. My hand trembled on the door handle. Kendra saw it and mistook it for hesitation. Not strength. She smiled wider. "Mom, come on. Let us in. We really do not have time for drama." Drama. That was the word she used when she did not want to be held accountable. I steadied my breath. "Kendra," I said softly, "you banned me from Christmas." She blinked, surprised I had said it out loud. "Mom, that was nothing. Do not start." But I had already started. Something inside me, something tired, something worn, something finally awake rose to the surface. I held the door firmly, lifted my chin, and closed it. Not angrily, not loudly, just finally, behind the door, their voices muffled into disbelief. And for the first time in my life, I wondered how a mother and daughter could drift so far apart. 2 weeks before the night she appeared at my door, my phone rang while I was folding laundry. I saw Kendra's name and answered with the same warmth I always tried to offer her. "Mom," she said, breathless in that carefully dramatic way she used when she wanted something. "I need to talk to you about Christmas." My stomach tightened, though I kept my tone gentle. "All right, what's going on?" She lowered her voice. "We're trying to keep the holiday stress-free this year. Trent's family is already tense, and you know how easily things get complicated." In the background, Trent muttered something about too many people and not enough space. Kendra sighed loud enough for me to hear it clearly. "See, this is exactly what I mean. He's really on edge. So we think it's best if you sit this one out. Just this year." I gripped the phone a little tighter. "You're telling me not to come for Christmas." "It's not like that," she insisted. "You understand, right? It's for everyone's comfort once. We just want a peaceful holiday, and your presence sometimes adds pressure." I swallowed the sting before it reached my voice. "If that's what you want, Kendra." She sounded relieved too. Relieved. "Good. I knew you'd get it. You're always so reasonable." Reasonable. That was the word she used whenever she expected me to disappear quietly. There was a short pause before she added, far too casually, "By the way, Mom, how many guest rooms does your villa have again? And do you still have that extended insurance coverage on the property?" The questions came out lightly, as if she were asking about the weather. "Why do you need to know that I asked?" "No reason. Just talking." Her tone brightened unnaturally. "Anyway, we'll make it up to you. Maybe after New Year's." We said goodbye, and I sat alone on the edge of my bed, the silence pressing in harder than her words ever could. Something in her voice lingered with me, an edge, not of guilt, but of anticipation. When people talk about reinvention, they rarely imagine a 72-year-old woman. But my second life began long before Kendra banned me from Christmas. It started when I became a widow at 55. Arthur's death left a quiet ache, the kind that lingers in the corners of a house long after the casseroles stop arriving. I poured myself into my work as a hospice nurse. Families trusted me with their final moments. Compassion was the only language that made sense then. By the time I retired, I had spent decades taking care of everyone except myself. Aunt Luella's passing changed everything. She left me a modest inheritance, nothing extravagant, but enough to give me a choice I had never considered. I invested it carefully, watched it grow, and for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to imagine a home that belonged entirely to me. That dream became a villa in Carmel Valley, a place I had passed through countless times but never allowed myself to claim. I did not choose it for prestige. I chose it because standing there, overlooking the hills and vineyards, I felt a quietness I had never known, a quietness that was earned. When I told Kendra, she did not congratulate me. She frowned. "Mom, that place is too big for someone your age. You'll get overwhelmed." "I think I can manage," I said. She pressed harder. "You should put the deed in my name. It will help with tax efficiency. And if something happens to you, it saves me paperwork." I remember staring at her, trying to decide whether she heard herself. "The villa stays in my name," I told her. "I built it for me." She didn't argue, but something in her expression tightened, as if I had taken something from her. For years, I assumed she was upset because she wanted me closer, safer, easier to reach. But as time went on, her questions always circled back to the same thing: square footage, property value, guest rooms, insurance coverage. Her interest never felt like love. It felt like calculation. After Kendra's call, the house felt heavier than usual, but I refused to let her decision define my holiday. For the first time in years, I planned a Christmas that belonged entirely to me. No negotiations. No stepping carefully around other people's moods. No pretending to be wanted where I clearly was not. I mentioned it to Eloise Turner, my 70-year-old neighbor who had a talent for finding joy in things other people overlooked. "Well, it is about time," she said, tapping her paint-stained fingers on my kitchen table. "You have spent your whole life showing up for people. Let someone show up for you." Later that afternoon, Jonah Caldwell stopped by to return a casserole dish. He was 68, a widower with kind eyes and a calm voice that made everything feel manageable. "You doing all right?" "Marlo," he asked. "I'm making my own Christmas this year," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Jonah nodded. "Then I'd like to be part of it. You deserve a day that feels good." Their support warmed something in me that had been cold for a long time. We planned a simple dinner: roast chicken, vegetables, and a pie. Eloise insisted on baking, despite her terrible record with crusts. A few days later, I made the mistake of checking social media. There was Kendra, posting photos of a perfectly arranged table with the caption, "Keeping it family only this year." Some chose not to join us, but that's how it goes. Within an hour, my phone buzzed with messages from relatives. "Why didn't you go? You should make more of an effort." "Marlo, family is everything." I typed several replies, deleted them all, and finally set my phone face down on the counter. Let them think what they wanted. I knew the truth, and the truth was enough. Still, something about Kendra's wording unsettled me. She wasn't just hiding the fact that she had banned me. She was rewriting the story before it had even begun. The first hint that something was wrong came the morning after my quiet Christmas dinner. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number from Sacramento. I let it go to voicemail, but the caller left a message anyway. "Hello, this is Mark Delaney, the property manager for the Hayes rental. I'm trying to reach Kendra about the outstanding balance. If this is her mother, could you ask her to call us back?" outstanding balance, rental. None of that matched the polished picture Kendra painted online. I called the number back immediately. "This is her mother," I said. "Why are you calling me?" Mark hesitated. "We have been attempting to contact them about unpaid rent for 3 months. Someone provided this number as a secondary contact." "I did not," I replied, my voice turning sharp before I could soften it. "Oh," he said quietly. "Then thank you for letting us know." After we hung up, I stared at the phone for a long moment. Kendra had never mentioned renting a place. She had insisted their home was secure, stable, and perfectly managed. That was her favorite word, perfectly. Later that afternoon, I hit play on my voicemail and heard Kendra's voice crackling through. "Trent, I told you the insurance claim will not go through unless the paperwork looks legitimate," she snapped. "And do not blame me for the burst pipe. If you had handled the first estimate correctly, we would not be in this situation." Trent's muffled reply sounded angry and frantic. I replayed the message twice before setting the phone down. That evening, a text from Kendra appeared. "Mom, do you still have that extended home warranty for the villa? Just curious." I typed a response, erased it, and finally wrote back, "Why are you asking?" No answer. Not that night. Not the next morning. The silence between us felt heavier than the words she had used to push me away. In the days that followed, I kept hearing pieces of her life falling like loose tiles, calls she did not return, messages she ignored, tension seeping through every fragment that reached me. Something was coming apart, and she was desperately trying to hide it. The knock at my door that night was too forceful to be neighborly. When I opened it, there they were again, Kendra and Trent, each gripping a suitcase, like soldiers prepared for a long deployment. "Mom," Kendra said, breezing past my shock, "we're staying here. Our place is unusable. Do not make this complicated." Trent nodded, as if the decision had already been signed into law. "We need a stable environment for a few weeks, maybe longer." I held the door, blocking their entry with my body. "You did not call. You did not ask." Kendra rolled her eyes. "Mom, please. You know we cannot stay at a hotel right now. Besides, you have this entire villa to yourself. It is ridiculous not to use it for family. Family is not the issue," I said quietly. She ignored that. "We already packed essentials. And Trent needs space for his work equipment. He is going to set up in the guest wing." Trent stepped forward, peering past me toward the hallway. "Which room is the biggest I should measure the wall for my monitors?" He lifted a small tape measure from his pocket and extended it as if he had already been granted access. My breath caught. "Trent," I said sharply, "put that away. You are not moving anything into my house." Kendra's tone turned sugary, the way it always did when she wanted control. "Mom, I posted on Facebook earlier that we were staying here. Everyone already knows." "It will look strange if you make a fuss." I stared at her. "You did what?" "Oh, come on," she snapped. "It is harmless. People love the idea of a cozy villa getaway. Why are you being dramatic?" The room seemed to tilt, not from fear, but from disbelief. She had rewritten Christmas 2 weeks ago. Now she was rewriting the present. Trent stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Just let us in. We are exhausted. This is the only reasonable option. Reasonable." That word again, always meaning, give us what we want. I tightened my grip on the door, feeling something old and fragile inside me begin to harden. I had spent a lifetime saying yes. The word forming in my throat was finally different. The word rose in my throat like something long buried, clawing its way out. "No." I steadied my breath. "You are not staying here." Kendra froze, her suitcase tilting in her hand. "Excuse me." I kept my voice even, though my heart thudded hard enough to shake my ribs. "You heard me." Her shock flickered into outrage. "After everything I have done for you," I let out a brittle laugh. Everything you have done, you banned me from Christmas. Kendra, you told me I was too stressful. You lied to our family and made it look like I chose not to come. And now you show up with luggage, expecting my home to fix whatever mess you and Trent are in. Trent stepped forward, puffing his chest. Careful. Marlo, family responsibility laws are real. An elderly parent refusing reasonable assistance. I am not refusing assistance. I cut in. I am refusing to be used. Kendra scoffed. Used. You have a villa valued at nearly $2 million and you live here alone. We need somewhere to stay. It is not a crime to expect your mother to help. You did not ask for help. I said, you demanded space. You demanded convenience. You wanted to pretend Christmas never happened, as if your decisions have no consequences. You wanted everything on your terms. Every time. Her jaw tightened. Mom, do not make this harder than it needs to be. You made it hard the moment you shut me out. My voice shook, not from fear, but from the weight of everything I had swallowed for years. I am not your backup plan. I am not your safety net. I am not your escape hatch when your life collapses. Trent's tone sharpened. Think carefully. We could claim neglect. People listen to cases about vulnerable seniors. I stepped back, feeling a steadiness return to me. Get off my property. They stared. Stunned, I closed the door slowly, firmly, the soft latch echoing louder than any shout. Their voices rose on the other side, anger, disbelief, threats tangled together. I stood there listening, knowing this was not the end. They would not let the boundary stand. The morning after I shut the door on Kendra and Trent, my phone buzzed nonstop. I ignored the first few calls until a voicemail from my cousin Linda played loud enough to rattle me. Marlo, how could you throw Kendra out during an emergency? She said they came to you for help and you refused to even let them inside. I sat very still. So this was her next move. Another message followed. Then another, each one condemning me more harshly than the last. Kendra had moved quickly, painting herself as a desperate daughter abandoned by her selfish mother. It was astonishing how fast lies could spread when people were eager to believe them. By noon, my phone rang again. This time it was the landlord from Sacramento, Mark Delaney. Mrs. Whitaker, I apologize for disturbing you again, he said, but since we last spoke, the Hayes property has officially entered eviction proceedings. I thought you might want to know. Given the contact information we were provided, I never agreed to be their contact. I replied, and I have not lived with them for more than 15 years. That is helpful to know, he said, sounding uneasy, because the paperwork they submitted lists you as a secondary occupant of their household. I pressed the phone to my ear. I am not. I suspected as much, he murmured. Thank you for confirming. After we hung up, I walked slowly to my desk, trying to steady myself. Before I could sit, the phone rang again, this time from an insurance company in Sacramento. Mrs. Whitaker, the woman said, we are calling to verify a claim involving a burst pipe at your listed residence. I have no burst pipe, I said, and my listed residence is here in Carmel Valley. There was a pause. The documentation we received lists you as a resident of the Hayes rental property. We need to confirm your occupancy for the claim to proceed. My chest tightened. I do not live there. I have not lived with my daughter for decades. Someone used my name without permission. The agent immediately shifted tone. In that case, we need a written statement. This will likely trigger a fraud review. After the call, I gathered every document proving my address and emailed scanned copies within the hour. By late afternoon, both the insurance company and the landlord had initiated formal investigations. The facade Kendra had built polished, curated, untouchable had begun to crack under its own weight. I stared at my silent phone. Knowing this was only the beginning, my daughter had been cornered, and I had no idea whether she would finally tell the truth or claw her way deeper into the lie. Kendra showed up again 3 days after the investigations began. This time she did not have luggage or Trent beside us. She stood on my doorstep alone, shoulders drawn tight, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. For a moment, she looked like the little girl I used to tuck into bed after nightmares. "Mom," she whispered, "I need to talk to you." I kept the door half open. "What is it?" "Kendra." She exhaled shakily. "Everything is falling apart. The landlord, the insurance. People calling us liars." Her lip trembled, but her eyes flickered with calculation. "I had to do something to protect us. Protect you from what I asked." She hesitated. "I filed a family hardship petition. I told the court you were unstable, that you needed supervision. It was the only way to make sure we could access your house and get things under control." I gripped the edge of the door to steady myself. "You told the court I am unstable. It was temporary," she rushed. "Just until things settle. You have this huge property and no one to help you. The judge would see that it makes sense. I have help," I said, "and I am perfectly capable." She swallowed. "Well, the petition was processed. You might get something in the mail." "I already did," I said, "and so did my fiduciary." Her face drained of color. "Your What, my fiduciary?" I repeated. "I appointed one 2 years ago. They handle all legal and financial matters if anyone ever challenges my autonomy." Kendra took a step back. "Why would you do that without telling me?" "Because I knew you." I said, "I knew you might try something like this." She opened her mouth, but whatever excuse she was preparing collapsed under its own weight. The hearing happened quickly. The judge reviewed the petition, examined the evidence, and reprimanded Kendra in front of a crowded courtroom. Filing a false claim against an elderly parent carried consequences: fines, mandated counseling, and a permanent note in the record. Afterward, in the hallway, Kendra covered her face with her hands and sobbed. "Why will you not choose me?" I looked at her, the daughter I had loved through every storm. "You never wanted me," I said quietly. "You only wanted what I could give you." I turned away, already feeling the shape of the life that would come next. The official court letters went out within a week. Copies mailed to every relative Kendra had pulled into her story. I did not write a single word in those envelopes. The court did it for me. The language was clinical, factual, and devastating. It detailed the false petition, the fraudulent insurance filings, and the attempt to seize control of my assets by claiming I was mentally unfit. I heard the fallout through whispers and secondhand calls. "She told us you abandoned her. She never mentioned the petition. We had no idea." I did not defend myself. The truth had finally grown its own voice, and it was louder than anything I could have said. Kendra's reputation unraveled without my involvement. She was fined for filing false legal documents. The judge required her to undergo a formal psychological evaluation, which became public record. Friends distanced themselves. Trent left for his brother's house, claiming he needed space from the chaos. The world she built on appearance and convenience folded in on itself. Meanwhile, my own world opened. I spent mornings with Eloise Turner, planning the rooms for the retreat I had decided to create. Older women need a place that believes them, I told her, a place that does not require them to earn tenderness. She smiled. "You are building what you never had." In the afternoons, Jonah Caldwell helped assemble furniture, humming softly as he worked. "This house feels brighter," he said once, "like it finally matches the person living in it." Maybe he was right. The villa no longer felt like a trophy of survival. It felt like a beginning. On the evening before the first group of women arrived, I walked through the quiet hallways. Years of tiptoeing around other people's needs had carved deep grooves in me, but each step felt like smoothing one of them back into place. The truth is simple. I did not lose a daughter. I stopped losing myself. As I locked the front door for the night, I heard my own voice echo softly inside me. Steady, certain. My daughter thought I would open the door. She never expected me to choose myself instead. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, make sure to like, comment, or subscribe for more stories just like this.